I'm rerunning this mapping on Image Composite Editor from Microsoft again. I'm going to take those same pictures generated by that mapping flight and I'm just going through this program in a simple mode. This is my first attempts at figuring this out. So I'm going to do a simple panorama and asking the software to auto detect the camera motion. Click next. It'll start stitching together the pictures. This program does not do anything except generate a composite picture based on the 150 pictures that the drone took in its overflight. There are other drone mapping softwares out there that I have seen, and they claim to generate 3D data. They claim to generate elevation data from correlating the images that they see to the elevation data of Google Maps. They're too expensive. Well, it's not too expensive for me. It's just I don't want to buy 10 different programs that I'm not going to use. And currently I am not trying to do this professionally. This is just my beginning efforts at understanding this technology. So I don't know what else to say about that. This is the beginnings for me. Now this program does stitch together 150 images in a fashion that I think is great as far as taking those individual photographs and creating a composite image of all of them. But again, it doesn't give me any elevation data, it doesn't give me anything but an image. And I'm going to research this more and more against those programs that claim that they do. And I don't doubt their claims. One of them's just $147. But I can't go out there and buy 10 $147 programs to figure out which one I would use to generate useful mapping data. I'm going to, like I say, do more research, etc., and get closer to that, because I'm retired now, just a week or so from being 67 years old, and I want to perhaps do some of this in retirement because I enjoy it. We'll see how that goes. But I did, for a person's question on YouTube, I did generate this map again, and it sort of generated a different map, or I felt that the map I generated before was a little wonky. I saw these green lines above the house here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 as a partial image that wasn't correct. Now I realize that's the rows of trees in the apple orchard behind me. It's not actually the rows of trees, it's the rows of grass between the trees. In truth, the trees are the gray stripes. But down here in the center, there's some missing data. I know there's pictures for that area, but there's some missing data. So again, I'm just letting this run through on its own. So I'm going to move to the crop portion of this by clicking next, and that basically crops the image, allows you to crop the image to get these places like this right here in the bottom left where there's a sawtooth pattern. Man, sawtooth pattern. I guess that's from my old electronics days of radar electronics. My goodness. It is a sawtooth image though. And of course this area over here that's missing data. So this time through I just clicked on autocomplete to let it complete the process. The last time the auto crop kind of grabbed a section from the center that was perfectly complete. It had no missing images in it. I did this a few minutes ago before this run to answer a question of an individual on the internet, and I kind of liked what it generated this way better. Now, I did try that other video stitching program, and it was 3 or 4 hours in and still hadn't finished. It may have developed a better stitch. I don't know. This is my first attempts at this. But when I went back through Microsoft Image Composite Editor in the fashion I am for this video, I felt it generated a better image. And there is the image it generated. Now I'm not quite sure what's going on here, because this area of the composite is kind of where those images were missing. And it seems, in my humble opinion, to have stitched in parts of the image repeatedly that aren't quite correct. The same for this area. I don't think those trees are that well aligned in that area of the property. I probably should go up and take one snapshot that would give me this whole area that I can compare to this image, and I probably will do that. As you can see, the orchard out back seems to have generated a good composite picture of the orchard as it is here at the house. And our property is composed of not a lot, open fields here in the front on either side of the driveway, the open field here where the landlord's building a new house, and a little open area around our house, but the rest of it is big, tall trees. Because this area right here is where some of those images were missing in the stitch before the crop, I also do, and this is just my humble opinion, I think that some of this may be duplicated. I don't know. This is my first attempt at doing this. As I look at it, I don't see that a lot of these trees are duplicated. This is fairly representative of our property. Again, if you draw a line right down through here and right out through here, I do think this is a little funky, because you see this image right here seems to be duplicated, slightly rotated here, 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 and here, so I don't trust any of this canopy top here. I do know that the landlord's house next door, there's sort of a little holding pond right here that isn't represented in this. This is, truthfully, looks like part of his property, where our property ends right here, and his yard begins, and he's got a little outbuilding here. So this does look kind of correct, except for this tree right here. I don't understand, and some of these, all these trees out in here, those aren't really over the road. But I didn't fly above the road because that's illegal in the United States. And maybe the angle of the photograph caused them to appear in this as shading the road. This tree right here seems pretty correct for what's out there, but there seems to be a shadow of it right through here that I don't quite understand. This may be a result of free software, cheap software, and better software might represent this better, might stitch this together better. It also takes a lot more time on the Hugin or whatever, however you pronounce that I started to run. It may have done a better job. It may have taken 6 hours to do it, and that may be one of the reasons it did a better job. The rest of the trees in here seem to be somewhat representative of the trees that are in my yard. I don't see a lot of craziness. Again, in this area I do. 1, 2, 3 trees seems to be reproduced. Here, 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 and here. Some of these trees with a lot of leaves off of them. Here's one here, here, and here that seems to be the same tree, and along with this. That may be coming from this one tree right here. I don't know. I really wasn't trying to photograph this part because I didn't want to fly over. Even though it's my landlord's property, he hasn't given me written permission to fly over his property yet. And that's what's required in the United States. Okay, it's up in the air a little bit. In North Carolina where we live, I can't remember if it's 74 or 94 feet above your property you own. And anything above that up to 400 feet is fair game for drones. I don't know legally if 94 feet and below I have to ask the landowner's written permission, and 95 feet and up to 400 feet I can do it without permission. I haven't gotten into that because I've never flown over people's property much without permission. I guess I should get that written permission and do some other things. But to finish this up, I don't know if this out in here is a fair representation of what's going on out there on the property, but I do think from about right here over it's fairly representative of the trees and stuff that we have in that area. I don't see a reproduction of patterns here that seem to be like the ones over here and in here that seems to be reproduced and not be a faithful representation of the true property. But as I scroll down on these, that's me standing there by the way, and my little takeoff landing pad there. This does look fairly representative, and it does let me look down into the trees and see what I know to be a little drainage ditch running right through here. Here's the power lines coming into the house. That doesn't seem, all this out here seems to be totally correct. I don't see any problems in this area. Oh, I just noticed there's a funkiness right there, and this is on the edge of what was captured. Therefore, those images may or may not be good. They may have been taking an image right here while that Mavic Mini was rotating. I don't know, because I do know that this is the workshop next to the new house here, and it's actually rectangle, but this picture shows a rotated half instead of a square building. Even though as we get back into where there were more images, the dumpster here and the 3 automobiles of the construction worker are not misrepresented in any fashion. Not sure about the angle of this. Again, these are on the fringe of the photos, and it could be just little errors in the stitching software. All the trees out behind that house and low bushes seem to be extremely representative of that area. There's out back where in other flights I've shown you the septic tank's actually right here, and this is the sewage line going from the house to the septic tank. All that seems correct. I'm not too sure what this is because I don't think there's actually a board back there. But they were doing the soffits during this flight. This is 2 workers right here. They were doing the soffits, and that could be boards they put down to walk across that area so they could put their ladders up to do this soffit. I did not physically go out there. I don't know this. I leave them alone when they're working. I hated to overfly them when I did the mission, but I'm actually renting that property that's underneath that house right now. I'm paying for it. So I sort of feel the right to anything within the perimeter of the property I rent. I'll probably export this picture out again and compare it to the other one. Let's do that. We'll click next and go to the export function. I'm going to go to 100% on this and export it to disk. I'm going to go down where I have that other picture, and I'm going to rename it Map Mission of My Home, Picture 1, and we'll let that write, and then I'll jump out real quick, and we will compare those 2 pictures if we can side by side. Oh, I'll have to do that in my video software. I can't really do that right here. So let me back out of this, shut down this video for a second, and I will do that. Compare this to what was generated on the other one. And again, I think this is fairly representative. There's some funkiness here. From right here down through here is some funkiness, and some funkiness on the fringe right here. So you can kind of get rid of all of this here, which is not in that other photo. And the rest of it seems to be fairly accurate. We'll see. So here is both of those outputs of the program side by side. The last one on the left, the first one on the right. The one on the right, I did crop that one, as I said in the video where I created that one, to that area, which was basically right through this one in this area. And this one on the left, I let that program run through, and I've spoken about how I'm suspect of the information over here, but as far as the information that's in both of them, I am pretty confident of it. If I scroll in on this one, which I can't do in this program, this is my video editing software, I don't think this one has as much funky stuff as the last one. Let me run out real quick in another area and check that. And yes, I see that that same funkiness is in the workshop next to the house there. And as I think about it now, I guess it should be. It's the same photographs and the same program. So to finish this up, I'm still working on this. I'm still trying to learn it. I'm still trying to make it into a usable thing that I might make some money from in my retirement. More interested in the fun than the money, and the drone flight seems to be more fun for me than working with the stuff afterwards, because I've never taken any GIS classes or anything like that. I've always been in electronics and computers my whole life. I haven't done much with mapping either. I would like to finish this up with one little comment, that I do think that the camera needs to be pointed straight down, and these pictures need to be taken at a 90-degree angle to the ground. I don't have any proof of that, anything to back that up, except for the fact that most of the drones I've seen over the past 10 years, the mapping cameras were located in the bottom of the platforms pointing straight down. I have suspicions that if the camera is at any kind of an angle, because the drone software for figuring out how many pictures should be taken and where they overlap is based on the focal length and the image sensor dimensions inside the camera, that would be corrupted by parallax error if there was any kind of an angle of even 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 45 degrees. That all starts not working correctly. And I think, and it may just be because the people who set up that software wanted to work with that hard 90-degree angle in their calculations, that if you varied that angle, those calculations just really got to be burdensome for them. I'm not sure. This is just my suspicion. I will let you know as I dig deeper and deeper into this. Let me show you the Mini Talon real quick. This is the Mini Talon, and as you can see, the mapping bay in it for a GoPro is located here in the bottom, and this plastic 3D printed camera holder is set up for a GoPro, and it is pointing straight down, whereas the FPV camera and such is on the front. This is the way I've seen them for the past 10 years or so. I have never seen one at any kind of an angle, and don't take my word that they have to be 90 degrees. Just a suspicion, being a mathematician, in addition to the electronics. I think that 90-degree angle is there because of the focal length of whatever camera you're using, having to be a hard component of the mathematics for this. That's just supposition on my part. Okay, that's about all I know to add for this video. I thank you so much for everything you do for me.